Hello everyone, I'm Min. Welcome back to my channel. And wow, I never thought I'd somehow slightly catch up the tail of some hot topics. As I mainly talk about true crime cases and I prefer to chat about long settled cases, and some of them are very cold and dead. You know, the cases I talk about could be dated back to tens or if not 2-3 decades ago. Anyway, enough rambling, let's go back to the case I want to talk about today. It is the case of this popular Netflix Three Body Problems producer, Lin Qi. He died in the end of 2020 when the pandemic lockdown was going into a norm at the time. And I remember I briefly read about this news about his death. But to be honest, I didn't care to read into it too much at the time, as life was a mess, right? Whilst I did remember to see this twists and turns of this case in the news, which was like this. On the 23rd of December 2020, it was reported that Lin Qi, the 39-year-old chairman of Youzu Interactive, was hospitalized after allegedly being poisoned by senior executives of the company. This news quickly shot up to the top of the day's trending topics in China. Following intense online discussions and speculations, Youzu Interactive officially announced around 5 p.m. that day that they had received notification from Mr. Lin Qi's family that he was hospitalized due to health issues. The notice stated that he was in stable condition and his health was improving, aka no one was poisoning him. However, about 2 hours later at 7:18 p.m., the Shanghai police announced on their public account saying that on the 17th of December 2020 at around 5 p.m., the police received a report that a patient named Mr. Lin, male 39 years old, was suspected of being poisoned during medical treatment at a hospital. Upon receiving the report, the police immediately launched an investigation. After on-site investigation and inquiries, it was discovered that Mr. Lin's colleague, Mr. Xu, also a male 39 years old, was suspected of committing a major crime. Currently, Mr. Xu has been criminally detained by the police and related investigation work is still ongoing. This is everything said on this announcement. The surname, the age, and the details of the incident matched up pretty well with this information circulating online, confirming that this online information was quite reliable. You know, something about this Lin Qi guy. This caused quite a stir among the public. Just 2 days later, on Christmas, Youzu Interactive announced that their chairman and controlling shareholder, Lin Qi, had passed away despite rescue efforts. Things escalated real quick in just a couple of days. The police announcement sparked a lot of speculations among the public about the details. And you know what? He actually died because of this Three Body Problem TV series. In the highest stakes business battles, it's often the simplest tactics that win.
You might think business warfare is all about seizing markets, shorting stocks, or poaching key employees.
But in reality, it's about snatching official sales, buying poisons on the dark web, and poisoning each other to secure the rights to the Three Body Problem IP. Even though the initial price was only 100,000 Chinese yuan, the production company still spent a whopping 120 million Chinese yuan for it. But what's even more absurd is that the boss ended up sacrificing his life for it. What the heck? What's going on? Let me take you in the story for the day. In March this year, the sci-fi series The Three Body Problem, released by Netflix, became a kind of hit across the web, I think. Comparing it to the Tencent version, which is a Chinese version, from a few years ago, we will discover some funny things. In both series, at the beginning and end of each episode, the same name appears, which is Lin Qi. In the Netflix version, Lin Qi is listed as a producer in the opening credits. In the Tencent version, Lin Qi is listed as the executive producer, but his name is surrounded by a black frame, according to the norms of the domestic film and television industry here in China. Framing a name usually implies a tragic incident. This means he had already passed away before the production of the Netflix series began. He wasn't actually involved in the creative team, just credited as a producer. Normally, it's only the authors of novels who get this kind of special treatment, being credited in multiple adaptations, right? As for how Mr. Lin Qi got so closely tied to the three-body problem IP, it all goes back to the first attempt to adapt the three-body problem for the screen. In fact, before the three-body problem was adapted into a TV series, there was already a full-length film adaptation. It's said to be a heavily altered work that left both fans of the original and casual viewers speechless. Shot like a PowerPoint. Due to its poor quality, the production company Youzu Pictures kept it from being released. The creators of this version of the three-body problem were a couple. The woman named Song Chunyu and the man is Zhang Fanfan. They respectively served as the screenwriter and the director. So check it out. These folks, the duo behind the scenes, they used to make some low-budget horror and indie films. They won't really cut out for tackling a massive project like the three-body problem. But hey, get handed to them. Even though their film skills weren't top-notch, they had some sharp eyes on business. Back in 2009, Liu Cixin wasn't as famous as he is now. His sci-fi novel, the future hit, The Three-Body Problem, was just something he churned out in his spare time, fetching maybe a few bucks per word for serialization. It was a niche read back then, not a big deal. But get this, the screenwriter, Song Chunyu, managed to sniff out the commercial potential of the book right after reading it. So she dragged her husband, Zhang Fanfan, from Beijing all the way to Shanxi to catch Liu Cixin, the author. Before this, Hugo Awards nomination came out and struck a deal to adapt it for the screen. And here's the kicker. Around that time, the power plant where Liu Cixin was working was facing shutdown due to national emissions reduction policies. Liu Cixin was on the brink of losing his job and income, so he'd face immense financial pressure as he wasn't famous yet at the time. Talk about the times. So the couple swooped in and snagged the film and TV adaptation rights to the three-body problem from Liu Cixin for a dirt cheap price. No one knows exactly how much they forked over. Rumor has it was only about 100,000 yuan, but Liu Cixin himself shut that down real quick. Anyway, back then, given the book's popularity, the price probably wasn't sky high. Might have even been less than what some small-time actors get paid in today's web series. After getting the IP, the couple didn't rush to cash in. They just kept it under wraps, waiting for the right moment. Fast forward 4 years, the three-body problem had already gone through 3 installments. And with the rise of Weibo, the Chinese Twitter, the novel quickly gained traction outside of sci-fi circles, moving into the mainstream. In the same year, the couple struck while the iron was hot, announcing their ownership of the adaptation rights and publicly launching the film project, covering both literary and cinematic bases. But here's the thing, even with the English version of The Three-Body Problem selling like hotcakes on Amazon and Liu Cixin becoming an international superstar, there was still no word on the movie production. It wasn't because they weren't an investor willing to chip in, it was because the conditions set by the couple were just too darn strict, scaring off potential backers. and among their conditions. One of them being that Zhang Fanfan had to direct and Song Chunyu had to write the screenplay. Now, don't get me wrong, their film skills could be way ahead of their time, but they didn't have any standout works to their names at the time, right? So the investors weren't about to risk tarnishing the original work by taking on this project. And you know what? The couple was stubborn as mules, insisting on directing it themselves. They'd rather let the three-body problem fade into obscurity, rotting away in their hands than hand it off to someone else. Their stubbornness threw the three-body problem adaptation into limbo. But hey, just when things were looking bleak, a savior appeared. So Lin Qi, right, he's like this typical rising star in the A-share market in China, a real rags to riches story. Born in November 1981 in Wenzhou, Zhejiang province, his folks were into business, so he grew up pretty comfortable. In August 2000, when he was about 19, Lin Qi got into the business management program at Nanjing University of Posts and Telecommunications. Now, during his time at uni, he realized that he had a knack for IT stuff. So after graduating in 2004, he landed a gig as a software engineer at China Telecom in Zhejiang province. But after a year, at the age of 24, Lin Qi decided to take a leap into entrepreneurship. Between 2005 and 2008, he tried his hand at starting two companies in Shanghai and Beijing, selling computers and peripherals and doing some advertising stuff, but both ventures flopped. Lin Qi wasn't about to throw in the towel. So in March 2009, at the age of 28, he founded Youzu Interactive, diving into the gaming market for round 3. Between 2000 and 2010, China's online gaming scene was booming, with companies like Tencent and NetEase rising up. This time around, Lin Qi picked the right horse and rode the wave of the era. In June 2009, Youzu Interactive launched its first self-developed game, The 36 Strategies, and it was a hit right out of the gate, winning over the market. Then they rolled out other hits like The League of Angels, Youth of the Three Kingdoms, and Youth of the Journey to the West, all big favorites among gamers. Under Lin Qi's leadership, Youzu Interactive became a leading provider of interactive entertainment in China. In June 2014, they successfully went public on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange with a whopping market cap of 30 billion Chinese yuan. In 2015, at the age of 34, Lin Qi made it big, like really big, with a net worth of $2.2 billion US dollars, landing him 5th on Asia's top 10 young rich list. Since then, he's been a regular on all the big rich lists. Back in 2015, Marvel superhero movies were all the rage in China. Lin Qi saw the money-making potential in adapting IPs for the big screen, so he started Youzu Pictures, scouting for valuable IPs and setting his sights on the super popular The Three-Body Problem. Lin Qi reached out to the couple, promising to make the movies just the way they wanted it. And get this, he even promised to making 6 films in one go, each with a budget of $200 million. But it wasn't just about the movies, they had to cover everything. Web series, merchandise, mobile games, online games, you name it. They were going all out to squeeze every ounce of potential value from this IP. Now Lin Qi said all the right things to the couple, but deep down, he couldn't trust them completely. He didn't dare to get them free rein. So he kept a trick up to his sleeves, hiring pros to assist with the movie production, That way he could give the couple face while ensuring the quality of the final product. Word has it that the creative team behind the movie version of the three-body problem was seriously top-notch. They roped in a whopping 50 screenwriters. And the producer for this film, none other than the original author, Liu Cixin himself. And Lin Qi roped in VHQ, the same company that worked on this Wolf Totem and the Crossing, to handle the special effects. Lin Qi's move wasn't so much about assisting as it was about avoiding excessive adaptation and keeping the work true to the original. But even with pros overseeing things, disaster struck either way. For some unknown reasons, director Zhang Fanfan dumped a bunch of material on VHQ at the very last minute when the movie was almost done. You can guess what happened next. The special effects team walked out on the spot. And then there's heavily weight writer Song Chunyu, who added way too many original plot lines that didn't vibe with this original story. This annoyed die-hard fans of this original work, resulting in a not-so-great final product. Some insiders straight up said that Zhang Fanfan's version of the three-body problem looked like a PowerPoint presentation. Meanwhile, YouTube's moneymaker, the gaming industry, was facing serious profit problems. They churned out a bunch of games, but with the gaming market evolving so rapidly, none of their games managed to win over players. With shaky foundations, the whole company went through massive changes. Several project teams got axed and multiple executives left one after another. Looking back and seeing the couple $100 million poured into the three-body problem only to end it up with this massive movie. Lin Qi finally understood why those investors had kept their distance from this particular couple. Turns out, they were the biggest obstacle to this IP development. Thankfully, a year passed and this three-body problem book didn't flop as expected. Although its movie adaptation didn't fare well, it caused a stir in the literary world. It was in 2015 when Liu Cixin won the Hugo Award for Best Novel with the three-body problem, sending his book rocketing to the top of Amazon's bestseller list. Seeing the three-body problem still hot as ever, Lin Qi decided to go for a long-term investment plan. During this time, many advised Lin Qi to just go ahead and release Zhang Fanfan's PowerPoint presentation of a movie. That way, they could ride a wave of hype and avoid a total loss. Some even dangled a guaranteed release contract worth $2.6 million, enough to sway most capitalists then and there. But what did Lin Qi say? He's no ordinary guy. He was a billionaire CEO. He didn't care about that bit of money. His main concern was avoiding the eternal shame of ruining this IP. So he turned down these proposals and shifted the focus of the three-body problem from movie production to copyright negotiations. Only with the rights in hand could they develop the IP without being constrained by the couple. After nearly half a year of negotiations, Lin Qi ultimately bought the rights to the three-body problem for a whopping 120 million Chinese yuan. But little did Lin Qi know at the time, this valuable adaptation right will become a harbinger of his doom in the future. On the 25th of December 2020, Youzu Company made an announcement saying that Lin Qi was dead. And you know what? He was murdered. And the killer wasn't some random person, it was a high-ranking executive from the three-body universe. And Lin Qi's death wasn't just a typical normal power-shifting thing in his business kingdom. It is related to the adaptation rights of the three-body problem, like I just said previously. It's got everyone, gamers or not, completely stunned. I mean, usually when someone gets killed, it's because they bought into some shady stuff or some heated argument or something similar to that, right? And you don't expect these particular things happen to big shops like them, billionaires. You'd expect them to settle their disputes with strategic moves, not by resorting to violence, right? At least that's what I'd expect from all the movies I've watched. So it's pretty mind-blowing that this straightaway poisoned and murdered could happen like this. Back on the 16th of December 2019, Lin Qi felt numbness in his limbs and mouth, so he rushed to a private hospital. At first, he brushed it off, thinking it was just from overworking. People like him tend to do so. He walked an hour to get to the hospital. But then he started having trouble breathing, vomiting, and having diarrhea while lying in the hospital bed. Doctors suspected it might be symptoms of pufferfish toxin. Now, pufferfish toxin is something you'd find in animals like pufferfish, of course, nuts, toads, basically animals you wouldn't eat knowingly. Considering Lin Qi was not from a region where people had a superheated interest to try weird foods, it's unlikely that he'd eat those things voluntarily, right? So it's highly likely he was poisoned. So they called the cops and rushed him to the nearest public hospital, the Fudan University Shanghai Cancer Center. Well, here in China, our public hospitals usually have the best doctors, staffs, and equipment. As soon as Lin Qi was sent to them, he was diagnosed with pufferfish toxin poisoning. His symptoms were so severe to the point that he was so close to death around that time. When he was transferred to the ICU for a blood exchange, his condition gradually stabilized. So that night, Youzu, his company, publicly announced that Lin Qi's condition was continuously improving. But they spoke too soon, just when everyone thought the toxins had been cleared from his blood. Lin Qi started showing symptoms of chronic poisoning again. Turns out there wasn't just one toxic substance in his body. While they were dealing with the pufferfish toxin, must-be heavy metal poisoning started acting up, with multiple unknown toxins mixing together. It wreaked havoc on Lin Qi's organs. Eventually, he passed away from internal bleeding and heart and lung failure. The autopsy report showed that Lin Qi had at least 5 different toxins in his body, and its cause of death was brain damage caused by poisoning. So who would want to harm him? He's this kind of a person rather to lose money than to ruin a good work. It's hard for me to imagine that someone like him will be too mean to his surroundings. In less than a day, the Shanghai police found the culprit. But this person is the last person anyone would have expected. And in fact, Xu Yao, our chapter 9. Xu Yao was born in 1981. He was hired by Lin Qi with a really high salary, rumored to be 20 million Chinese yuan per year, to be the chief risk officer at Youzu. And later, Lin Qi appointed him as the CEO of the three-body universe. In 2003, Xu Yao graduated from the Law School of Southeast University of Political Science and Law, then studied at the Insurance Law School of this university in France that I can't pronounce its name because it's in French, of course. After graduating from this particular school in France in 2006, Xu Yao entered the law school of the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, for further studies and graduated in 2008. After graduation, Xu Yao worked as a lawyer at the Hong Kong office of Dewey and Libowo, difficult to pronounce names, LLP in the United States. Later, he served as the assistant president legal counsel and general manager of the legal affairs department of Fosun Group. The group ranked among the top 500 global listed companies on the Forbes list in 2021. In May 2017, Xu Yao resigned from Fosun Group and joined Youzu. Back in the day, when Lin Qi wanted to buy the adaptation rights of the three-body problem from Zhang Fanfan and his wife, remember the couple? It got complicated because of all the legal stuff involved in transferring this IP. Lin Qi wasn't good at that stuff, so the negotiations hit a rough patch. That's when Xu Yao came to the game. Because of his legal and work experience, Lin Qi hired him as the chief legal officer. Once Xu Yao joined Youzu, he really delivered. With his help, the couple finally let go of this adaptation rights, and they successfully bought this valuable IP. And after getting the rights, Xu Yao spent almost half a year sorting out all the leftover copyright issues. Xu Yao really made it happen, so after the deal went through, Lin Qi promoted him to the board of directors at Youzu. Then in 2018, he appointed Xu Yao as the CEO of the Three-Body Universe Cultural Development Company Limited, where he was in charge of getting things ready for the Three-Body movie, TV show, animation, and game development. But here's the thing, Xu Yao was a law PhD, not an expert to all that entertainment stuff. Even though he was super enthusiastic about this IP and promised Lin Qi he'd give it his all, he wasn't exactly a sci-fi buff. He was more into legal texts than fiction. Sure, he could handle the company's intellectual property rights, but when it came to overseeing artistic creation, he was a bit out of his depth. During his tenure, the further development of the three-body IP didn't really go anywhere. Maybe things started off too smoothly, or maybe he got too confident. Either way, the IP under Xu Yao's watch encountered some unexpected setbacks. In 2017, while Xu Yao was dealing with the copyright issues with the couple, Lin Qi got connected with Hollywood through Amazon's help. They started talking with several film companies about collaborating on the three-body problem. Lin Qi also struck a deal with Netflix, along with a few young folks. Xu Yao wasn't really involved in any of these talks with Netflix. Then in December 2018, Lin Qi set up the Three-Body Universe Shanghai Cultural Development Company Limited, specifically for the Three-Body Problem project. Xu Yao became the CEO in charge of nurturing and developing this three-body problem. During Xu Yao's time, they brought in talent from Disney who has experience in IP development to give the three-body IP a more commercial angle. The three-body problem partnered up with brands like this famous Chinese sports brand, 361 Degree, the Bank of China, Credit Cards Department, the ThinkPad, and the Vivo phones. From 2019 onwards, Xu Yao started working on the three-body time and space immersive exhibition. An employee at Youzu Studios did say that with Xu Yao around, the development of the three-body problem IP was at least healthier than before. That same year, Youzu Studios signed a deal with Tencent to adapt the three-body problem into a web series. That's the Tencent version of the three-body problem that came out in 2023. On the 1st of December 2020, Netflix announced the production of the Three-Body Problem TV series, sparking another round of hot searches. Lin Qi appeared as a producer on the official list of English series creators, but there was no sign of this CEO Xu Yao, perhaps because he wasn't involved in the negotiations. Xu Yao expressed that he was disappointed to Lin Qi about his name not appearing among the producers, but it didn't change anything. Besides this, Xu Yao had some grievances about Lin Qi's strong-handed approach while working for him, and he also had disagreements with other company executives. According to press, internal sources revealed that around June 2020, Lin Qi had discussions with Xu Yao, indicating his intention for Xu Yao to leave the three-body universe. In November 2020, Lin Qi reorganized the three-body IP project, assigning it to other executives from Youzu, while also demoting and cutting Xu Yao's salary, reportedly from a yearly salary of 20 million to 4 or 5 million. Although Xu Yao was still nominally CEO, his actual work has been sidelined by subordinates and he didn't have much say among the major shareholders. Later on, the company often cited Xu Yao's lack of expertise as a reason to hand over his responsibilities to other vice presidents. Even when Youzu authorized Netflix to show this the three-body problem, Xu Yao's name was nowhere to be found on the list of creators. It was then that Xu Yao realized that he was being sidelined. The boss was clearly trying to throw him under the bus. Xu Yao couldn't bear this injustice, and as the company's performance declined, he gradually developed the idea of rising from below. You know what? When this case broke down, reporters managed to get some comments or pieces of information for the perpetrator, Xu Yao. His friend mentioned that Xu Yao was hooked to the Breaking Bad for a while. Yep, this American TV series, Breaking Bad. Xu Yao could have been inspired by Walter White, who uses resin to kill gas frying in the show. So, he could have thought of the idea of poisoning people he hates. Looking at the timeline of the crime revealed later on, Xu Yao started poisoning his colleagues from September 2020. Based on this, the planning of poisoning, purchasing of poison, and the start of poison preparation can be traced back to around June, when personnel exchange within this Youzu company were discussed. Perhaps it was after that reconstruct conversation that Xu Yao harbored thoughts of revenge. Xu Yao actually started to put small doses of poisons to all the colleagues he hated, right? It was all small, very quiet. He made sure no one would instantly notice the difference in their health. Until Xu Yao somehow suddenly upgraded his poison doses to Lin Qi in December, and Lin Qi collapsed and was sent to the hospital, eventually died. This all happened so fast and unexpected. Doesn't sound like a supposedly delicate and long and slow process where Xu Yao could potentially go away with. As technically, if everything went so smooth and quiet, Xu Yao could have been long gone, either out of broad or just simply vanished from the company, while the people he poisoned were dying. Anyway, his sudden move to kill Lin Qi exposed him, and I figured the trigger for it could be this reconstructing project Lin Qi operated in November for the company. He was just too angry to keep it nice and slow. What do you think? Xu Yao purchased over 100 types of poison through the dark web and prepared more than 160 mobile phone numbers to avoid risks. Inside a villa in Qingpu, Shanghai City, he began preparing the poison himself. He first tested out the poisons on cats and dogs to determine its toxicity and symptoms. Only started poisoning people once he thought he had made a good poison combination. Reportedly, from September to December 2020, Xu Yao visited the offices of 2 other victims multiple times, both of whom were executives at Youzu Company. It was rumored that Lin Qi intended to have one of these executives replace Xu Yao as CEO of the three-body universe at that time. He took photos of coffee capsules, whiskey, mineral water, etc. in their offices. Then he bought the same drinks, added poison to them, and replaced all these original drinks from the offices. Both executives' offices had unidentified people coming in and out. As Youzu is a really big and listed company, way too many employees that not everyone knew each other well enough to recognize one another all the time, right? With one executive's office was not locked, and the other was temporarily set up in a conference room without a nameplate. As a result, several victims were poisoned by drinking these spiked drinks. It wasn't until Lin Qi's sudden death that the other victims were tested positive for chronic poisoning. It is said that this poisoning incident made everyone at Youzu feel unsafe, and almost all executives voluntarily went to the hospital to test whether they were poisoned. If I were one of the staff there, I'd go to hospital for a test as well. Who the heck knows if I ever pissed him off without knowing? But you know what? In addition to long-term and chronic poisoning of colleagues using beverages in relatively open areas, Xiao also customized an exclusive poisoning plan for Lin Qi. Someday in December, Xiao mixed a poison pill into a bottle of 30 probiotic supplements and gave it to Lin Qi's assistant to give to Lin Qi to take. He also instructed the assistant to urge Lin Qi to take it, which I found weird, as why wouldn't anyone find it strange that a subordinate to urge his big boss to take vitamins or probiotic supplements in this case? Not even my mom would nag me to take health supplements here in China. Anyway, several days later, on the 16th of December, Lin Qi ate the poison pill mixed in the probiotic capsule by Xu Yao, and immediately felt headache, nausea, and other discomfort, so he went to the hospital for treatment. After arriving at the hospital, as mentioned earlier, Lin Qi's condition rapidly deteriorated and he passed away 9 days later. After Lin Qi is poisoned and went to the hospital, Xu Yao told those who inquired that Lin Qi should have had a stroke. He has been under too much work pressure recently, and promptly formed a temporary management committee for the company. According to insiders who spoke to Phoenix TV's Storm Eye, a newspaper, on the 17th of December, Xu Yao flew from Shanghai to Beijing to intercept the other executive under the guise of attending a legal conference. However, he didn't manage to meet him in his office as planned after Lin Qi was hospitalized and the hospital reported to the police. Some insiders are saying something that if this executive had gone to the office, he would have died. However, this plot was not mentioned in the judgment and cannot be verified if it's true. After being apprehended by the police, Xu Yao refusing to tell anyone any details about his poisons. According to a report, in order to excuse himself, Xu Yao not only hired a team of lawyers for his defense, but also purchased a large number of books in advance to understand how to conduct psychiatric evaluations. He also searched online for related articles and materials looking up domestic and international cases where individuals were exempt from punishment due to mental illness. So, can a criminal be convicted without any admission of guilt? In China's legal system, evidence is crucial. According to the criminal procedure law of China, the courts prioritize physical evidence over confessions. This means that if there is only a confession from the defendant without other corresponding evidence, a conviction cannot be made. Conversely, if there is no confession but there is sufficient and credible evidence, a conviction can be made. Even though Xu Yao remained silent, the testimonies of other witnesses, records of poison purchases, video surveillance footage, toxin identification conclusions, and other evidence all corroborated each other, forming a complete chain of evidence. The intentional homicide case involving Xu Yao was publicly tried at the Shanghai First Intermediate People's Court on the 31st of October 2023. The Shanghai First Intermediate People's Court found after deliberation that the defendant Xu Yao, due to conflicts with the victim Lin Qi over company management matters, premeditatedly poisoned Lin Qi's food and drink between the 14th and 15th of December 2020, resulting in Lin Qi's poisoning and death. Xu Yao also had conflicts with the anonymous victims A and B due to work-related issues. Between September and December 2020, he premeditatedly poisoned, drink, and other items in their offices, resulting in poisoning for A, B, and 2 others. The Shanghai First Intermediate People's Court held Xu Yao's intentional killing of 1 person resulting in death constituted a crime of intentional homicide, and his act of releasing hazardous substances, endangering public safety resulting in poisoning for 4 individuals, constituted the crime of releasing hazardous substances. He should be punished severely according to the law, as his motives were despicable. His methods were extremely vicious. The consequences were particularly serious. The verdict was not announced in court. Rather, in the morning of the 22nd of March 2024 at 10 a.m., Xu Yao was sentenced to death for the crime of intentional homicide and deprived of political rights for life. He was also sentenced to 6 years in prison for the crime of releasing hazardous substances, with the death penalty being implemented, and Xu Yao remained calm and silent. He almost looked indifferent when he heard this death sentence to him. What a man! Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!